Welcome back to Let's Have a Powwow. I am your host, Amy Farid. On this episode, I speak with filmmaker Razelle Benally and fashion designer Jontay Kahm. Razelle and Jontay are both incredibly talented. Razelle co-directed Murder in Bighorn and has directed a feature film coming out soon. Jontay is a few weeks away from graduating Parsons School of Design. He will be showing his Beyond Vessels collection at the Santa Fe Indian Market in August, and he will also be showing his MFA collection during New York Fashion Week. We discuss how they got into film and fashion. I ask if they have any muses, and we discuss the importance of intention. Enjoy the show. Away, relatives, and welcome back to Let's Have a Powwow podcast. I'm your host, Amy Farid, and on today's pod, we have a dynamic duo here in the studio, Razelle Benally and Jontay Kahm.
Hello.
Give it up, give it up. So I say dynamic duo because optically, when I see you guys out frolicking in these streets, I see Razelle. Razelle, you're giving brooding, mysterious, artistic type. And Jontay is this beautiful angel baby full of love and light. And the skin is sickening.
I've been drinking a lot of water lately,
Oh,
so that actually does help.
It really does. And you have to balance it out. And the youth. You're young. So I see you guys out. I love the dark and light of it all. I am a Libra. I love balance. So together, you two together just make me so happy when I see you. So I wanted you both to come on because I love this kind of relationship you guys have. Now, if this is wrong, please drag me. But do you feel like I gave you is that a correct way of assuming of like your characters, like who you are?
From the outside perspective, yes.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. I would absolutely say that Jontay, if, very much him and I as a unit, he does represent the young, the light, the love, the cute. Do you want me to go on and on? Hey.
No, keep going.
Please.
I'm not stopping you.
And I very much am the, I don't mean to. I think New York changed me. So I feel like I was very much fun, loving, light, but, the film industry that I've been in really, I think, caused me to have quite a outer shell that I needed protection.
Yep.
So the city changed me in that sense of where, I did have to harden up a bit. And I think that people that know me do know, and you know this, Amy, you know this.
Oh yeah.
Is that like, I do love to have fun. I love making people laugh, but also if you look at my work's very serious and dark as well. Yes. So I could definitely see how, my exterior or how I sometimes superficially present can be a little more brooding, mysterious and all that stuff. But I also think,
and sexy.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah. But I think it's the hat. Usually I got a hat.
Vibe. It's like a vibe. You just look cool as hell. And on top of that, you are a filmmaker and you are a writer. And I love that you explore, because we live in a dark world, especially right now. And Jontay, you are a fashion designer and you are becoming just this, I'm sure people have been saying this because of your references.
An enigma.
An enigma, the indigenous Alexander McQueen, because we know he's a big inspiration for you. And but I wanted to start back at not the beginning, but when did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker? When did you know that fashion was for you, that the design? Was there a moment or a spark that you were like, oh my God, this is what I want, and you got happy to do this? Like, how did it start?
Jontay's looking at me like I should start, but I think Jontay should start.
Okay. Oh gosh, it's just like, long story short, but it all started, I'm sure everybody knows this, back in 2009 when Lady Gaga released Bad Romance on the radio. I was hooked. It changed my life. It pivoted my life to know where I want to go in life, because she was working with designers, stylists.
All of the big designers too.
All of them.
And Nicola Formichetti. Yes.
That whole era was so addicting, and I couldn't not look away.
Now, how old were you in 2009?
I think 12 or 13.
Oh my God, that's such an important part of when, that's when I first started looking at fashion magazines and started, this was in the 90s. So I'm, 40 something. And, that was before the internet, before things where we were just scouring magazines and books and trying to get these fashion books and by any means necessary, stealing them, just to absorb all of this imagery. So that's such a pivotal point, 12, 13. So that was the time.
And living on the res, it wasn't easy.
Okay, and where is your res? Where are you from?
Mosquito First Nations. It's near North Battleford, Saskatchewan. Prairie town, beautiful sunsets, beautiful skies.
Big sky, right?
Living skies.
Yes. That's how Oklahoma is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then so growing up on the res, no internet. So I only had the TV. And so that was
also, folks, 2009, we had the internet in the world, you know, and so you grew up without that, which is so special because some of these kids your age right now don't know what that's like.
It was tough because when I discovered Lady Gaga, I wanted everything that she was doing, presenting, performance, interview. I wanted everything. And actually, another special note, I was so obsessed. Razelle knows about this. I was so obsessed because I didn't have an internet like the internet. I would get my camcorder, my Canon camera, set it up on the TV so I can record the performances of Lady Gaga and then watch it back later because I didn't have the privilege of the internet at that time.
Yes, that's like what we used to do. We used to record on VHS tapes. I would stay up on, and stay up to see if I could watch George Michael, I Want Your Sex, in the 80s. Mm-hmm. We would stay up all night until we could until it came back on in rotation on MTV and hit record so that we would have our recordings of these videos because videos were such a crazy, you were inspired by a music video.
Oh yeah, Bad Romance was the best music video and still is.
It is iconic. Yeah. So because you are, younger, our Lady Gaga was Madonna. And so we went through all of this with Madonna and she was that fashion girl before, she had all that. So that I know exactly that feeling because I had that same feeling, with other rock stars and pop stars and stuff like that.
And that same feeling I wanted to always carry on into my designs. Yes. That's why they're so, when you look at them, it's like ecstasy to the eyes. That's so important because I wouldn't make a simple t-shirt or pants or with a simple dress. It has to be as beautiful and immaculate when I'm making it.
And they are. And you know what I love about your dresses? Because, Lily Gladstone and other world famous Indigenous actresses have worn it and will wear it. But your dresses give me this reaction. And it's a reaction that I would have looking at old Alexander McQueen too. And it's a little disturbing sometimes because maybe it is it reminds me of a skeletal bird dead, seeing its remains, but that beauty that goes into the texture because your texture is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
the feathers, I loved, you were just at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. talking about your work. At first it was feathers and then you went into beads and then now ribbon,
which
you showed a little sneak peek of that.
I did not know they were gonna film that. I was like, I would not put in that slide if people were gonna film that.
I know, but actually I'm so happy because it gave me that visceral reaction of like not even seeing it moving, just the photos of like the little intricate ribboning, like the hundreds of ribbons that, and I can just imagine in my mind how it's going to move. And it's just that reaction. Like not a lot of designers can give you that. McQueen does that. Iris Van Herpen does that, and you. And that's why I'm just so excited about everything you do. And you deserve all the flowers for that because of that texture, and it makes you feel something.
Yeah.
Like you felt something.
Absolutely. So
right?
that's what I'm working on for my MFA collection right now. And I have 7 weeks left until I graduate. And so it's getting heavy and intense.
The kid doesn't come out of his room because Jontay and I live together. You know,
yes,
so
you guys are roommates.
We
are part of the lore.
Also part of the lore. But yeah, I hear him all hours of the day, the night. I hear the sewing machine going. And then
so you mentioned at the Smithsonian about Parsons approached you.
Yeah, that is a blessing in itself.
Yeah. / did they bless you with the tuition?
Yes, ma'am, honey.
Thank you. Give it up, Miss Parsons. You better support the Indigenous girls.
What?
The Indigenous dolls.
It was so amazing.
Because they see what we all see.
Yes.
Especially as someone who's been in fashion for over 20 years. I've seen people come and go, and you're that girl. You are the one. And bitch work. Bitch work. And you're about to graduate.
2 years went by so fast. I can't believe it.
I met you originally when you were at Marist. Was that 2 years?
That was almost 2 years ago, yep.
I met you then and got to see Marist College had a, is it called, Marist College?
Yeah, Marist College reached out. They wanted me to do their an exhibition there. Sonia Roy asked me, and I was like, yeah, heck yeah, of course. But at the same time, like, I didn't graduate from there. I went there before
they don't
COVID.
Care. Bitch, they saw the beauty. And
so, yeah, Sonia loves me.
Yeah, she does love you.
Yeah.
And and that's when I got to see your clothes in person, because I had been seeing you on the internet, and Dea was telling me, or someone else was telling me about you, and I was like, yes, this is the next big person. I mean, not even next. You're here. You're doing it.
And that was just my BFA collection.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And that's how it all starts, because I love seeing the designers back in those days. Galliano, McQueen, they went to Central St. Martin's, and some of those collections that they did for their BFAs are some of their best work still to this day.
Yeah.
So you're in that tradition. You're in that line of designers for me. I just want to let you know that it is very important that you are here and that your work is being seen. Razelle.
Yes.
Tell me, when did you know? What happened? How did it start?
Oh my gosh. Well, I kind of want to go back to this idea of VHS recording. And, you know, for me, I know I present a little younger, but I'm in my mid-30s. And so I feel like I'm right between you two of the era of, internet, living without internet, like, pressing record on the VHS to record my favorite movies that were coming on HBO and Stars and all, and that's because
what was your favorite movie?
Well, we couldn't afford to. My family is super poor, so we couldn't afford to buy the VHS tapes. And going back to this idea of like, the testament of living on the res, or being native and living in a tiny non-native town in Eastern Oregon, like I was poor, you're on the res, you're living without internet because purely out of just they didn't have internet going to the res back then, whereas the whole other world did. And I, like, growing up, recorded movies, my favorite movies. I'm gonna get to that. It's just kind of like, it just paints a picture for I think like what Jontay strived and what motivated me to want to bring to the world, it gave us that little extra kick of like, we're going to work to have our favorite things. So like growing up, I'm one of my favorite movies. I have a lot of favorite movies as a kid. My tastes evolved over the years, but my family was a big movie family. It was a big deal for us to rent movies on the weekend, and when my dad was around, we'd all sit down and watch a movie. And my dad loved movies, and I think that his affinity for film, cinema, for books, he was really big into Tony Hillerman back in the day, which we'll get to, and him being Dene, born, raised, first language, Dene Bazad, and my mother being Oglala Lakota, her being born in Pine Ridge, raised Pine Ridge, her first language was Lakota. Like, they were in a different era where they would take whatever they can get on screen, whatever sort of representation existed in the 70s, 60s, 80s, they were proud, to have that representation, even though it was done by like non-natives. And so growing up, because my family loved movies and I was the youngest, everyone's like way older than me. I'm a late life baby. My mom had me when she was like 40. And so I started reading from a young age 3 years old. And like, by the time I was in kindergarten, I think I was a little more advanced. And so,
Okay,
but I was also
baby genius. It's baby genius.
He is a genius.
But
She's a genius.
but
Yeah.
because I learned how to read from a really young age, I loved reading and I loved storytelling. And because my family loved movies, I just grew with a natural affinity for cinema, for films. And my family didn't care I was a child, so I didn't grow up on Disney movies. They didn't tailor what we watched for me as the only child.
Right, they were tired of it. They're like,
watched.
Girl, we don't,
Yeah,
like, you're watching the shit we're watching.
I
Like,
watched what they watched.
Yes, yeah.
My favorite movie at 5 years old was Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
It was crazy. I would only watch it until certain parts.
Yeah.
But I from a young age I knew that what drugs were.
Yeah.
That the heroin and the needle,
Right.
like that. I remember thinking, wow, like this is fake. Like, like I could compute that. I don't know how.
Totally.
Maybe it's growing up in a family of dysfunction and drugs and alcohol were around, and knowing the reality and this is fake. I knew movies were fake or not real. I knew what documentaries were real. And so going back now, circling around, some of my favorite movies when I was a kid were Pulp Fiction. Also, I really loved Clueless.
Yes.
Also, Wayne's World. Some of the movies I would record as a kid were like the remake of the Beverly Hillbillies. And, there's a lot of interesting actors in that one. But I started realizing that Wayne's World, Beverly Hillbillies, even like Little Rascals, the remake, was directed by this woman named Penelope Spheris.
Yes.
Penelope Spheris is an icon because she got her start in her younger years through making docs, and specifically she made this very, very iconic, it's actually like a doc series, so to speak, but the doc she came out with was called The Decline of Western Civilization, which chronicled the very, very important punk era.
Razelle, I love you for this. And we have to talk about our punk rock moment.
We will.
I love you for that.
And
Thank you.
And so Penelope Spheris was this very punk rock documentary in the late 70s,
and people
80s.
don't realize that
People
because
don't
of
realize
Clueless.
that. Yeah, and then she transitioned to become this mainstream film director, creating these really, ironic movies like remakes of the Beverly Hillbillies, like I said, and Little Rascals, and then she adapted Wayne's World, and she directed. Right, she directed Wayne's World. Oh my God, am I getting that wrong?
I don't know if she did Wayne's World, but
Am I
we're
okay?
gonna look
You
it
know
up.
what? I'm gonna seem like such a clown.
I could see.
Cut that out.
Yeah, we can totally cut that.
But I'm fairly certain she did. Steve, are you checking?
Pulp Fiction. What a typical NYU student, huh?
Oh yeah, she did Wayne's World.
I
I thought
fucking
so.
right.
I don't even know why I even questioned that.
I didn't
Yeah, she
know
did.
that.
She did. And so and if you look at those films, they all kind of carry the same sort of beat structure and comedy, and they all, I think, there's this idea of like breaking fourth wall, especially in Wayne's World. But then, I didn't know all that until like way later. And I think sort of like that's where I'm at in life, where I got my start in documentary, filming my friends, filming what was going. Actually, I got my start in high school when I was filming a lot of activism happening in South Dakota, because by then, when I was in high school, I consider Rapid City my home because they were my formative years of a young teenager. And I was super into punk rock. I was very straight edge. I was very much in like, what little scene there was back then, and love punk music, Riot Girl, hardcore, 80, so all that stuff informed me.
I see you post Crass UK.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I know people are real, because I'm an old Crass UK, Subhumans, Exploited, punk rocker, Naked Aggression.
Yes.
Like, it's a certain thing, like, at the time, 12, 13, what we're talking about was my mind. I was into fashion, but I was definitely into music.
Exactly.
I got my first bass at that age. Mm-hmm. And I was this fashion person, but I was like this punk rock skater bitch.
Exactly.
And then a riot girl. And that was like 13. And I think it's so important to be a punk rocker. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, no. And just to sort of like wrap things up, like being part of the scene, and then the ethos, the DIY ethos, the do it yourself, my foundation of guerrilla filmmaking, just going out there and doing it and filming what I can, really created this foundation of what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and who I am, and how, just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just take a camera and just do it. And so Penelope
this is
Spears,
a still camera.
Yeah. No. It was I started out with the digital cameras. Digital still, and then my mom and dad were able to chip in and get me a camcorder, a Canon GL1, which was like a more prosumer camera. I got it when I was 16 years old because I got really good grades in high school. Kids stay in school, get good grades.
Yes. You get things from your parents.
Exactly. And by then, I just started filming a lot of the activism rallies that were happening for the protection of sacred sites in and around Lakota country, Bear Butte, the Black Hills, Pine Ridge. And I just started filming things. And then I came out with a little film at the end of my high school career. And that's what kind of kickstarted it all.
What was it called?
It was called Wicha Oyue, which is like loosely translates to like a way of life. And it just was a 15, 17-minute short doc that talked about our creation story. I interviewed elders, people in the community.
And you were in high school?
I was in high school.
And
I did not know what I was doing. I was and back then,
beautiful.
Back then we had different editing platforms, and it was really hard to edit. And I took like 2 weeks to try, and I taught myself from books, and I didn't have no one to go off of. I didn't even have a computer back then. And so that's where I started. And then and because I was also a skateboarder, I got sponsored by a native skateboard company. And then that's when I transitioned out of doc and started skateboarding for a good portion, of my life. And then I started filming skateboarding. And then so that everything kind of sort of kicked off. I went a little backwards. I did go to college at II for a little bit, and I flunked out really bad because I was just all over the place.
That's always a success story, though.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes when you flunk out of school, art school, any school,
I
mean, that's a success story.
Yeah.
So you were skateboarding.
I was skateboarding.
You were going to shows.
I was going to shows.
You were at IA.
I was filming.
Going to school.
Not going to school. I was
school.
traveling around. I was doing the, punk rock, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, minus the sex and the drugs and the rock and roll. But I was skateboarding. You were traveling. And then I kept getting injured. And then that's when I started taking this idea, because I was always filming. That's when I started realizing I could do this for real. like filmmaking. And that's when I sort of like planted in my head, like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that's how everything sort of culminated.
And how old were you at that age?
Man,
when you realized that?
Probably like 23, 25.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 23.
So you graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
You had your camera. You were like, okay, let me do the skateboarding life. Yeah. And then you kind of found your way because it's like, that's a hard life.
It is.
Punk rock and skateboarding. We've talked about this before on the show, kids. It's a hard life. Yeah. You know, mosh pits are hard on your body. Oh, yeah. Skateboarding is already hard on your body. So you transitioned out of that. You flunked out of IA.
Yeah.
And then when you made that decision, did you go to school right away?
I didn't enroll. I applied for the Sundance Native Lab fellowship, and I met some folks that were
who was in your lab? Who were your
Aaron Lau.
Okay.
Wait. No, that came later. I'm sorry. Aaron's a good friend of mine. Jeffrey Palmer, who's from Oklahoma. Brooke. Wow. Don't hate me, Brooke. Brooke Pepion Swaney.
Work.
She is from the Blackfeet tribe in Montana. And then the last person was Johnny Canoyer. Was it Billy Luther? Oh my gosh, I feel like so terrible.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
You were there with these people. Yeah.
They were all amazing.
And so you got in and you did workshops.
Kiara Lacey, she's a Hawaiian filmmaker as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how was that experience for you at the Sundance Lab?
Oh my gosh. It was a shock to my system because I had a massive bout of imposter syndrome. To be amongst, well, Brooke had just graduated from the Tisch program.
Okay.
She just got her MFA at NYU for film production. And she's like, what I know of, she's one of the very, very, very few Indigenous people that have actually gone through that program, that have gotten their degree and completed it. So she was a graduate, from what because I'm biased, from the best film school in the world. And I always wanted to go to NYU as a teenager when I started really getting into indie films and realizing that a lot of those filmmakers, a lot of the films I was watching back then, they were coming from the filmmakers that were coming out of the program. But I didn't realize there's an undergraduate program and an MFA program, or the difference. It turns out the MFA program is the more coveted program because, it's way, the cohorts are really tiny. And Jontay can speak to this about his cohort at Parsons, how small it is. And so there's a lot of people that apply to that program, but only X amount of people get in. And so I was really, I was really low key intimidated to be around someone like Jeffrey Palmer, Kiara Lacey, who both, I believe, had feature film projects. Kiara was doing a feature doc. Jeffrey was doing a feature narrative. And I believe Brooke was also in the lab with the feature film that they were workshopping. And I came in with the short film, a short narrative film. And so I was really young, and I was so green, and these guys had all studied film. These guys were all in it. And I was just like coming out of this punk rock skateboarding era that had been in. So I felt like, why am I here? But then I realized, going back and thinking about it, that I think it was my raw energy, my drive, my motivation. Like I was hungry to make films, and I was going to do it no matter what. And so that's how my background contributed to my start. So from the Sundance Lab, things sort of snowballed from there. I realized I wanted to take this even more seriously. So I went back to IA. I had to write a letter of why I wanted to come back because I totally flunked out. And I had to pretty much restart because the credits that I got before were it's embarrassing. I think I had 6 credits or something. I only passed 2 classes. Yeah. And so I had to pretty much restart. So I did, and I went through the motions. But by then I had already been filming so many things. I've been doing my own little dog projects. I had just been, so I came into that program with a little more experience than some of my peers, and I just kept going.
You were ready. That was the time. It wasn't time for you the time before. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen, right? And so you get back into IAIA. And Jontay, you also went to IAIA, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did.
Not at the same time.
Yes and
Actually,
no. Yeah.
I feel like we Jontay and I I was exiting. I think you entered like the fall of 2017, or no, spring of 2017.
Spring, yes.
So Jontay got to IA the spring of 2017, and I was graduating that May of 2017. So our paths like Venn diagrammed for like one semester, but since he was just coming in and I was exiting, and he was in the studio arts program and I was in the cinematic arts program, we didn't really see each other. I think I seen you around campus because, you know, you're like a mini version of your dad.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Well, okay. I love that segue because your father is Jeffrey or Jeff?
Jeff.
I say, okay, Jeff Kahm.
Yeah.
And he was an abstract artist. And how did that influence you growing up and in your art?
So he was the most professional artist that I've ever known, even though I'm so biased. I grew up with him. So he would go to the studio, wake up at 6 a.m., go to the studio, and then just work.
Like work. It was work.
Start making paintings, doing drawings every morning with his coffee. He was so disciplined.
The art life I love.
And so he was a professor at IAI as well. And so after high school, I went to Blanche McDonald in Vancouver. And then after I finished that 1-year program, he got me to IAIA. And I was like, there's no fashion there. What do I do? And he was like, just get your foot in the door in America. Get your credits here. Because like he instilled education in me for so long, ever since I was a kid. Education was so important because he went through that, and how much easier his life was when he got his master's, and he wanted that for me. So his artwork, the colors and the texture were there.
Can I add one thing just about your dad? Jeff was like a really prolific professor. I mean, he's a prolific artist, but to also carry that role of being a professor at IAIA and knowing that so many of my friends like Rose Simpson, Chanipa Hanska Luger, Hoka Skennendor, Micah Wesley, all these guys like studied under several professors at IAIA, but you know, Jeff was always, you know, there and contributed to like a lot of our wonderful, great indigenous artists that we have working and slaying like today. So just knowing that, like, whenever he talks about his dad, I'm like, like he was the guy. You know?
Even like his past students would come up to me, and they would always be like, Jeff was the best.
The best.
Yeah.
When you have a teacher or professor like that in your life, I still remember my favorite teachers. It's an imprint, right? Because it's beyond teaching, right? It's something that it's subconscious that a good professor or teacher can get you to think differently and behave differently too. And to know that he was a disciplined artist is so hard because sometimes it's so hard for artists to be disciplined, right? So you had an amazing for someone to look up to in your father. Yeah. And you loved that.
Yes.
And that's so great. And you didn't try to rebel against it.
Sometimes when I was at IA, I was going crazy.
Right, because you're like, oh my dad.
I was kind of a bad kid at IA when he was teaching.
You're my angel, baby.
Jontay's bad boy era.
I was so bad.
You have to rebel. That's my whole thing. I think to be a complete whole person, there has to be a moment where you rebel. You have to have that punk rock moment. You have to have it. for you to truly, because if you don't, you hold on to it and then you act out later in life weird.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going through?
You're
like,
how old?
Yeah. Like, and it's cool to do that, but I think it's so important in these formative years. Like, you're supposed to be a fuck up. You're supposed to be like, oh my God, my dad.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about him
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
So you had a little rebellion.
And that's when I went to Marist. I was only there for like two semesters.
Right.
And then I transferred to Marist in 2018, I think.
Yes.
And then I was there for 2 years for their BFA. And then COVID happened.
And then COVID. Oof. Ooh, that's, yeah, what a crazy time. But your father influenced your work ethic, your sense of, would you say, color or
For sure.
palette?
Yep.
And I also loved hearing you talk about your grandfather,
Yeah.
who was blind.
Yes.
And you would make these textural pieces for him to feel.
Yep.
Jontay, what a beautiful thing to put into your art, that it's your family, these men in your life. Sorry, I'm like, getting choked up.
I know.
But the thought and care that goes into some of our clothes is so beautiful. And I respect that. And I really respect that you carry them with you. And what was the name of your collections where you pay tribute to them, your honor collection for your father and your grandfather?
My first real collection was called Razelle and Bodies. It was for my BFA collection at IAIA. And so I was in my senior year, and I had to come up with a collection. They didn't have fashion, but they let me do fashion. Thank God they did.
IAIA does not have fashion?
They don't. So I had to convince them, like, I want to do a collection for my final project.
Oh my God.
And they knew my dad, of course, and they all knew me already. So
it's going to be good.
it's
going to be good. We got to let him do this.
So timeline-wise, this was after COVID, like 2021. That was 2021. I went back to IA. And then
so after COVID.
Yeah.
So you left Marist and then went back.
Dropped out of Marist, went back to Canada. COVID happened. And then my father passing away, went back to New Mexico, looking after his estate. And I'm like, well, since I'm in Santa Fe, I might as well go back to school here. And they welcomed me with open arms. Oh. And they honored his legacy for me to get a full ride there as well, because technically he would still be teaching there.
Of course.
If I was there. So I had to come up with a collection, and I just asked God, like, I need something, because my aesthetic wasn't perfect yet at that point until Razelle and Bodies, because my design aesthetic beforehand was kind of like everywhere, but everything was kind of like perfect moment at that time for Razelle and Bodies. Feathers, ribbons, color. I just wanted to do all of that. And each piece has a name, and they all have their own story behind my life with them. And like, for instance, I was just grieving their passing because it was so sudden. It was so hard, not only for my family, but all of his students were devastated, and the school, it was like so hard. But taking that grief and trying to make it beautiful, of me grieving, like the dress sudden, which Cara Jade Meyer wore at the SAG Awards, and then the Void dress. It's a green feather dress. It's supposed to be a decaying cadaver, the silhouette, and the body bag cape with the black ribbon and feathers, and the migration dress, which Lily Gladstone wore, because me and my dad are both from Canada. We came here to America to live our American dream. And that was...
Lily Gladstone wore that to the Golden Globes?
To the Virtuosus Awards.
Okay. Virtuosus Awards. Okay. She looked amazing in that dress.
I was stunned because I didn't know where they were going to wear it, But that morning, I think it was February 11th of last year,
Yeah.
I was like, woke up. Christian texted me right away. And he was like, girl, it
Yes.
looks amazing. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. That was insane.
Now, have you met Jason, her stylist?
Mhm.
Okay, I worked with Lily for something for the Emmys in August last year. And, obviously I love, like, she's very loyal to her stylist. We love a loyal client.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I get to meet Jason. I'm so excited because he styles many great stars. And, it's like, oh, I hope he's cool. And he was so sweet.
Yeah,
and
he's
his
really cool.
assistant, who I forget their name right now.
Wilton.
Yes. Also, like, adorable to be crammed into a hotel room at the Sunset Tower. It was like perfect. And they were so sweet. And so I that's also makes me feel good knowing Lily is in good hands with Jason. And and Jason was just at the Smithsonian with you. So of course you met Jason, duh.
Yeah.
But he's lovely. And I love, like, as a stylist, he's not trying to just be like, no, you need to wear this. A lot of stylists do that, where he's open to the collaborations with these Indigenous designers, and it has made for beautiful pieces, which now you can see in the Smithsonian.
Yep.
So yes, so your father and grandfather passing, their passing gave you this enlightenment as to your style.
Yeah. And then I had to
and it just downloaded, and then you're like, oh, this is it.
that was it. And I'm so grateful that I have an identifiable aesthetic outside when I'm leaving with my
Amen.
BFA, because a lot of people don't have that. And it's
Yes.
very
Hell
important
yeah.
for designers to have an identifiable aesthetic.
Say that again.
It's very important as a designer to have a identifiable aesthetic, because not everybody has that. And it's worth its weight in gold.
Yes. And again, it happens when it happens, right? You don't just, sometimes it just doesn't happen. It happened for you after death,
Yeah.
I
I had to smarten up, grow up,
Okay.
'Cause
I want to say one thing.
Yes.
I want to say what, speaking to Jontay's, identifiable aesthetic, what creates his identifiable aesthetic is he utilizes texture, form, silhouette, all the things that, all the things, not just silhouette and just, relying on, fabric, but like you really do, like you go the distance with, utilizing a certain material and then executing it in like the most genius ways, like pulling from inspiration from, like old, like the things that, our ancestors used to wear. And if you were to really look at it, you can see, the carryover from past and the present, and how much he's modernized silhouette and shape, and not only from his Cree background, but from just a lot of plains tribes, and especially from like the powwow scene, and what that looks like outside those scenes and from the past, and what he does, and he puts a lot of thought into it if you really look at it, and that's what differentiates Jontay from like what I think a lot of people are doing these days. They there's a lot of fast fashion out there, but like Jontay is like he really is creating one of a kind pieces like every time,
really one of a kind. And it's this beautiful five senses, like you can it's like you're using your senses, but then there's also this subconscious love that's being put into it too, that goes beyond what we see.
It's the intention.
Yes, it's the intention, and you're just blessed too, and your ancestors and your grandfather are looking on you, and all of that is in that, and that's why it's so amazing. And the powwow connection to your clothes, I highly recommend, if you have an opportunity to see Jontay's clothes in person, please. The powwow silhouettes, like the bustle that you turned into a dress, the inspiration of a bustle, the beading, it's just so gorgeous, and textures drive me crazy in the best way. And it's just you have to see his clothes in person, and you do want to touch them, and you do want to, but don't touch them.
It's not a petting zoo.
No, don't touch them. Please don't touch them.
I always touch them.
Oh, well, you get to. You're behind the scenes. You're
do.
like, I've heard you sew this or do whatever to this gown for hours. Razelle's allowed.
I'm allowed.
Razelle's allowed.
Absolutely.
My oily fingers.
Yeah, breaking down the feathers. Oh, that makes the feathers good now.
My fry bread greasy hair.
That's
Grease
the love.
stain.
That's why it's so shiny.
Oh yeah, I hand feel every single ribbon. Gives it that little extra touch.
Oh my god! Wait, Razelle, tell me about murder. Sorry, as I'm like,
I know.
as we're kikiing about.
I know.
But I love us laughing because I want
Yeah.
this to be fun, and
We got to hit all the emotions. You know.
we got. I mean, I've cried, I've laughed. What's next? Anger.
anger. Let's get angry. Let's talk about Murder in Bighorn.
Let's talk about murder in Bighorn. Razelle,
Yeah.
you were a co-director.
Yeah, I
Director.
co-directed that. It's a doc series.
Yes.
Yeah, on Showtime.
Showtime. How
Yeah.
was working with like big Showtime corporate media?
While she was in school.
Oh yeah.
That's
yeah.
the
Oh,
crazy
also
part.
let's also
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about, we talked about all this NYU Tisch,
Right.
la 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 la. Meanwhile, you ended up going to
I ended
Tisch.
up going to Tisch.
You
So I
went to Tisch
did.
and you graduated with like honors
Yeah.
and flag bearer.
Yep.
I
so
mean,
so I too was scouted by Tisch. I was in South Dakota just getting done with ceremony, and it was summertime, and some friends were on the res, and people represented from the NYU grad film program were in Pine Ridge because they were working on other things with Oglala Lakota College, but they were just like, oh, well, we know someone that's probably here. And just so happened, I happened to be the right place, the right time, and got to meet the dean of the program that was heading the grad film program at the time. And then she asked if I ever would consider grad school. And I was like, at Tisch? And I was like, wow, like I always wanted to go there. And she encouraged me to apply. And then reality kind of set in as I was applying. Like, it's about, it's 70 grand a year.
yeah, 70 grand a year.
How the hell, if I get in,
Yeah.
first of all, but if I got in, how would I be able to pay for, there's no way.
There's no way.
No way. So, but lucky for me, well, is it luck or am I just blessed? I try not to say that I'm lucky these days. I like to lead with like this intention that I am where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
And I'm blessed and everything's aligning. So, I got in, because I came out here. I never even been to New York before coming here. Like, I hadn't been here since I was a baby. We actually used to live here in New Jersey.
What?
Right when I was born, my dad did his program at Rutgers University. So we were living in New Jersey when I was a baby, like newborn. And then
What does your father do?
my dad was also a painter. Native American,
So many parallels, right?
Yeah. We should be like siblings.
Literally.
Well, unlike your dad, my dad was a classic. I'm trying to stay away from stereotypes. He had a little issue with alcohol.
Yeah.
And my parents, were in this very dysfunctional relationship trying to raise us kids, and it went south. They split. My dad was sort of in and out of my life, but I would see him all the time, but he wasn't really a great dad.
Same. I got a not great dad.
Yeah, but he made his living painting, and he sold his, we did Indian market, we did ceremonial, we did all the shows all around, right? And so going back to where did I segue off? Tisch, right?
Yes.
I think I'm circling back.
So
to
you had
Tisch.
never been to New
I had never.
York.
That's right. I had never been to New
before.
York. So my dad did his program out here at Rutgers for anthropology. He was just like
So
3
cool.
credits, 4 credits, 6 credits shy from graduating. So he never got his degree. He's never got his master's. We all moved back out west, but that was my only connection to New York, and I had never been there since. In my child life, teenage life, even young adult life, never been in New York. So when I decided to come out here, I thought it was kind of crazy, but I applied, I got in, I did the interview and stuff. And then I got in, but then the big thing was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay for this? And when that thought hit, the person that was telling me that I got accepted, she also informed me that I was awarded the one full ride scholarship.
Yes.
So I got a full ride scholarship
Blessed.
to grad.
It is written. It is written.
Yeah. So
it is written in the stars.
So I got to come out here.
What year was that you came out here?
2018.
Okay.
And the program is usually 3 years with the year matriculation to do your thesis film. So it's a 4-year thing. But COVID happened, so I ended up being here 5 years. Okay. And we started pre-production. Now we're going back to, I made a full circle. Now going back to Murder in Bighorn. My last year of classes at NYU, where I had a full 18 credit hour load of stuff, right? I was going to class every day, but I managed to curate my last semester because I got pinged with this opportunity to direct and produce Murder in Bighorn. And I also got pinged to write full-time for the Dark Winds series in the writer's room.
Yes.
And so
I love
I'm a crazy person.
That all happened in 1 year?
That all happened in the same semester.
So Dark Winds and Murder in Bighorn?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
So
and
my last semester.
How many episodes of Dark Winds too?
Well, the room of the cohort of writers that I was in the room with, there's 5 of us. We wrote the whole series, as a room, and then people got divvied out their own episodes to write.
Okay.
So,
I love Dark Winds, by the way.
Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a cool thing to talk about because I love that series, and the new season 3 is just out now, and I love that series, and I love that you wrote on it.
Yeah,
it's the first season too. It was the first season you wrote on.
Yeah,
oh,
and that was crazy because I was able to work my schedule that winter so that when I went to do my last semester, I would, because these shows came knocking at my door, and I knew, I'm like, well, I got to figure this out if I take these jobs. So I was able to figure out to go to class all day Monday or Friday, and then have Tuesdays, Wednesdays off, and then somehow Thursdays and Friday. I don't even know how I did it, but I was able to talk to some of my professors and my advisor, and I was able to go do the writer's room, which was being held on Zoom. So everyone showed up on, cool. Yeah. And this was like post-COVID.
Yeah.
So, during COVID. So everything was on Zoom. So I was able to work remotely in the writer's room, writing for Dark Winds full time. And then I would, on my lunch break from Dark Winds, being in the room, I would go to class. And the class I ironically had was TV writing class.
Oh,
so
perfect.
My amazing professor, Laura Shapiro, she was stoked for me, but so she just asked me when I came to class that I would just give updates how the room was going. And so at that same time on the weekends, I would work for Murder in Bighorn on the pre-production development, and because I was directing and producing that. So I literally had no time and no life.
The directing and producing stuff, that was also happening over Zoom.
No.
Was that in person? Were you
that was
going
in person.
Out?
It was a lot of it was Zoom, but then Matthew Galkin, my co-director, the executive producer, he had his office in South Orange, New Jersey.
Perfect.
So it was a 20-minute drive. And I had a vehicle, so I was able to go in and work in person with him, and we were able to do a lot of things.
Pre-pro.
Exactly.
And then when did you guys shoot Murder in Bighorn?
Man.
Was that during that semester?
It was the summer. It started the summer after I graduated. Oh, wait, no. Actually, it was after my course load, after my classes ended, that May, June, July, August. And then that 4th year was my matriculation year, so I didn't have classes. We shot all that year, and I was going back and forth between Montana and New Jersey, and staying in Montana for weeks and then coming back. Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. And so when we shot that whole thing. And by then Dark Winds came out, and yeah, that was a crazy semester, and I wouldn't recommend it. Do not do grad school full time and write in a writer's room full time while directing and producing a doc series. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because some people, I mean, I'm not even going to say I wouldn't have been like, I'm good, you guys. I'm going to take a semester off because this is too much for me. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. And it was really amazing because sometimes I felt like
I made it. I'm out. Bye, guys. Like, I got 2 shows coming out.
Right.
But you didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
So kudos.
I didn't do that. Because I always felt immense gratitude for Tisch for giving me the scholarship.
Yes.
And because my dad never finished his master's, I really made it a thing. That was my ultimate goal. Just get my master's. And although it may seem a little arbitrary to some folks, like, oh, it's just a degree, it's whatever. No, it meant a lot to me because my dad never got to finish it.
Yes.
And then, and then when he passed was like 2013, like I knew that when I wanted to continue my education that I really wanted to get my master's at some point. I just didn't know what was feasible. And so that's why it was important to me to see schooling through, because NYU had supported me so greatly. A lot of times I felt like I like, kind of just like left me hanging, like they didn't really, a lot of times I felt like they didn't really like support me or follow me or, give me the platform to recognize what I did while in school there. However, NYU would always post about things and write about things and the fact that I had so much support from NYU, like they honored me with being the banner bearer. The president of NYU shouted me out during our entire graduation at Radio City Music Hall. I was like a notated name as one of like, it was crazy. And my family all got to witness that. So I think for my sister and my nieces especially, it was they didn't realize the impact that that I had at this school, the one school that I always wanted to go to. And so it was an amazing journey. It's been an amazing journey.
And you ended it with a bang, you know? And I wanted to go back to the IAIA stuff. And is that because like sometimes you're not loved by your own, like I have a friend who's from a famous hairstylist, my mentor. And I talk about him a lot because, when I first came to New York and started assisting him, I would hear his stories and his, talk about the business and fashion. And he grew up outside of Paris, but moved to Paris. And it was his one goal was to like work and live in Paris. And the French people did not like him. And so, but in New York, we loved him. And so he was shooting with, all the, David LaChapelle and all these big photographers here in New York, all the magazines, big magazines here in New York, shows in New York. He would have, fashion shows and be the key of them. Back home in Paris, he never got that love. And then once they kind of saw New York loved him, they kind of were like, oh, okay, we'll give you a little, we'll give you that love. But sometimes I feel like we don't get that love from our own people that we want so much to be like, I don't know if it's just because in IAA, it is a bunch of Indians. Maybe their story, it's not so special to them the way we think, in New York, we do get amplified more. Like we do get, because they haven't maybe heard our story so much. So for them, they're like, oh, this is a new thing for them. And maybe in IAA, it's just, okay, we know we're kind of have the shared story or shared history. I don't know. I just think that's interesting.
I just don't know if, and this might sound a little blunt, and I just don't know, especially because the cinematic arts program at IAI at the time I was there was so young. I just don't know if they knew or could see the potential I had. Right. And I don't know if they knew how to support it because I had very big aspirations and dreams. And I almost feel like this is where Jontay and I connect a lot too, is like, it was almost like, it's that, we're like a goldfish that can only grow so much in a place. So when I came out here to New York, and my professors are Spike Lee, Carol Dysinger, Donna Gigliotti, John Tintori, Barbara Schock, and the list goes on. A lot of these people actually have Oscars. Todd Maitland is my sound professor, and he has 6 Oscar nominations for sound. He just came off like Joker and West Side Story and Complete Unknown, the new Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Like he does sound. He's the guy that does sound, and it's like that's my professor. these are people I hang out. I show up to class with my coffee, 30 minutes late, maybe a little hungover. These are the people that I show up to, and I turn my work in, and we shoot the shit.
You're learning from.
I'm learning from.
We're learning from Oscar winners.
And so
that's why you come to New York, right?
I see them. Right. They see me, and they see my drive. They
see your greatness,
the hunger, right?
Yeah.
And I think, it's a big difference when you come out here and people can see you, and not just like the native me, because I'm someone that's very adamant about being a good filmmaker, but making the best films for the sake of making the best films. I'm talking about good writing, good acting, well-written dialogue if we need it, frames, the shots,
stop.
And yes, and I'm not out here using my indigeneity as a crutch. My stories are not about just a native person. I'm talking about the nuances, the specificity, the complexity of indigeneity as a whole. Like, I didn't grow up on, the res. I was, I've lived on my reses, plural. But I don't have that story. I've also grown up in really small, tiny towns of white America. I've grown up in the Midwest, the Southwest, even in Portland. I've lived in all kinds of places. I'm very much a part of my ceremonies back home in South Dakota. I speak my language the best I can. Those kind of things. I'm about, carrying knowledge, sustainment of culture, of what it means to be a native person in these days. And so, if I'm seen just for being a native or having a story because it's native, I'm probably not going to want to talk to you, because I'm much more than that. I'm about making a good movie and not just being a good native filmmaker. That's not my thing.
Yes.
So
don't box us in.
Don't box us
Please.
in. I'm not about the stereotypes or the tropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indigenous people were very multifaceted. It's not a monolith.
Exactly.
And we are very well-rounded people. And I think you being a filmmaker, you being a designer, and being out here in the scene doing things, that's only going to kind of get rid of those kind of stereotypes that it's like we're still in it. We still have to do that because we are just now getting platforms. We are just getting that amplification. Razelle, what do you want to see as far as filmmaking for not just Indigenous people, but what would you like to see us do? We have a lot of going on right now. What would you like to see next in the space as far as a film made by you that's not out there yet? What do you want to see?
So, I'm the style of narrative filmmaking that I do, because I do nonfiction, I do narrative. The narrative stuff that I want to see is, for me to make, is something along the lines of Past Lives meets Honora meets, a Complete Unknown. Not necessarily story-wise, but, these are all indie drama films.
Yeah. Loved Past Lives. Loved Honora.
Yeah. And so what I want to see is a really, really solid indie drama made, with Indigenous overtones, undertones, nuances, specificities, that can actually, that people can watch, that has a cultural impact, not just because it's a Native movie. Like, we have Native movies that have come out, but are they good? Have they been made well? Is the writing good? Is the directing good? Is the acting good? Like, those are all things. And I don't want to, talk shit or sound hypercritical, because, I still got to make my film. It could completely suck. I always say that to humble myself. I actually don't think that.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. It's going to be
so
good.
Yeah.
But, it's like, just because you have a really good actor or a very popular one in your movie doesn't mean it deserves accolades or recognition for it to be all over and viewed everywhere. You might have to look at if your movie isn't getting something, you might have to look at it and be like, well, was it actually that good?
Right.
And that's
writing's
huge.
So important.
It's so important. Yeah.
People don't realize that. It's yeah.
And a lot of the issues in some movies these days, the writing's just bad. If the writing's
So
bad, then
much.
it's going to be harder to direct, to act in,
And we're not talking just about Indigenous films. I'm
talking about all films.
films.
Exactly.
There's some writing. I mean, this stuff on Netflix.
Oh, it's terrible.
I know, like, Tyler Perry is a special case, but oh my God. I'm like, it's sometimes just when we like, let's have a laugh. Wow.
You know what it is?
It is so bad.
Platform streamers these days are putting all their money into easily digestible content.
Yeah.
And I think, like, going back to like what Jontay and I talk about a lot is like, we don't want our work to be easily digestible. We don't want it to just be consumed and forgotten, because this world that we live in is, it's easy to consume, and it's easy to just, that's it, and then go on your merry way. No, like, I and I think that's what really resonates with you when you're talking about Jontay's work, and because you're not the only one, is like, when we look at this kid's work, it's like, he's coming from a place of intention. He has so many inspirations that contribute to a piece, and he's pulling not only from like the past, but his own family, his dad, and like, just his own inspirations of McQueen and everything. It's like, you see that intention, and it's like, it's a feeling. He's fostering that seed of the work that he's doing. And so therefore, when people experience and see his work, they feel something. And that feeling becomes memorable.
Yes.
And that feeling
imprint.
it imprints, and you can't just consume it and let it go. And so that's how, for me, that's what I try to do with my work, when I direct, when I write, when I even, the whole process for me of making a film, I try my best to subvert the Hollywood way of doing things, that classic idea of like, I'm a director, I'm a tyrant, everyone listen to me, quiet on set, shut the fuck up, like that.
That's
whole
how I
thing.
want you to be like that.
I know. I have.
I'm gonna make
this.
a mockumentary of you.
I have done this.
Yes.
Just for fun, though. But yeah, so even just the process of making a film, for me, it's the planting of that seed and the intention that I give it, how I foster and grow that process of making a film. When people watch it, when people watch my stuff, it's that feeling, that the intention that they're feeling, even though, people won't know, they might feel good after they watched it and be like, wow, like, I don't know why I like this movie, but I like it. And it could be that, but also I'm like hyper aware, and I just try to do things in a good way. Cause I see very toxic, place. I've had very toxic experiences, working on stuff. And I just, film should be fun. Film should feel good. It shouldn't be shitty.
No.
So
it doesn't have to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like and in fashion too, like in the 90s and early 2000s, it was just this horrible work environment of people, usually fucked up on drugs
Yeah.
or partying all night, being mean to everyone else on set who you find are below you or your assistant.
The hierarchy.
Yes. And as we've come into this more enlightened years, it's not like that. And those people that acted like that, people are calling them out. And it's so great that we're in that space now, because it was really a dark period of time. Even just like the models, who they casted, all of that has changed, and for the better. And I feel like in film too, like, yes, we still have our divas, but I want to go back to writing. You are a writer, and nonfiction, documentaries, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
When are we going to get a comedy though?
Oh,
when is the comedy coming? Because I know when we had dinner, we were talking about a little comedy moment. We were workshopping something.
Lip seal. That's actually I'm still working with that idea. We just brought that up not too long ago.
Because we need to laugh, right? I mean, that's how we've survived through all of our trauma, all of our ancestors' trauma. Is through laughter.
Laughter's medicine.
Oh.
I've said this. I think I was doing an Adobe interview with, and I said something and went viral about laughter's medicine. I was like, oh, did I really say that?
We'll say it here, honey, because laughter is medicine. Okay, I'm printing the shirts now. And it is medicine.
Yeah.
And we need it. And we love to laugh.
We laugh. We constantly laugh.
That's
I know
we
you do.
Yeah.
I know. I can tell.
Yeah.
And we make up like scenarios too for like movie scenes. That would be a great thing to do.
Gosh, we make dialogue up all the time.
Write that down.
Write that down. I make
Constantly.
notes.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Pull the phone out. Make all the notes. It's so important. And so yes.
So I'm trying to segue out of this like heavy like nonfiction stuff, because actually what we're doing now is I've been filming him a little bit here and there.
Yes. Ooh, we got some tea.
Yeah.
We got a little
I don't know
tea.
what we're gonna do.
We don't know. We don't know. It could be something. We don't know. But thank you for sharing that, because that's something to look out for, because we need that.
Because, he's up to stuff.
Oh, I know you. I know you're up to stuff, and you can't even say it. You can't even say it, which is like so amazing. You're just so fancy and
we sit at home, we giggle on the couch about all the things he's up to.
Yeah.
And she makes me watch the movies that she just listed.
Yeah, I make him watch the movies.
Does Jontay have a list like, okay, you haven't seen this, you have to see this?
No, I just make him watch it.
And I make her watch fashion shows.
Yeah, we do that. That's what we do.
No, our celebrities.
Our worlds actually crisscross a lot. Like, for instance, like, I know a lot of these actors, like, who do I know? Cara Jade Myers, Lily a little bit, Amber Midthunder a little bit, like, because I'm they're the people I work with too, and we just know each other. In the indigenous film world is small,
so small.
The
whole community.
Everything's
so
small, right? So like, when we're late at night, he gets a call of putting his dress on somebody, or somebody needs a dress, and a lot of times he's like, do you know this person? I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, are they cool? And I'm like, yeah, they're cool, I like them, like, you should I'm like, they look great. It's like, okay, cool. And it's like, and then like sometimes when it comes to fashion stuff, I go to Jontay and I ask him.
Jontay, when you're asking if they're cool, because it matters who wears your dress.
Right. I can't say yes to everybody. That's the thing.
That's right.
I'm in school. People flock to me, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do that.
No, you don't have to. Time is so special, and
it's not just time
keep
though.
Your time and that energy.
It's also, I feel like, because you do care about your work, a lot of times, and who's wearing it. It's okay to be selective sometimes.
It's very okay. I remember one time, one of my favorite designers, Miguel Adrover. He was around in the early 2000s in New York. He inspired so many things. And I remember once we were backstage at his show, and one of his PR people were like, "Oh, Deborah Messing wants to get a dress from you." And he was like, "Wait, who? Who?" And they're like, "Oh, she's on Will and Grace and blah, blah." He's like, "Oh, no. She's not wearing my dress. Absolutely not." And he's a very political person, and he really cares about everything. And just remember that one time, like, and me being like a 21-year-old, like hearing him just be like, "Oh, no. She's not wearing my clothes. Like, I don't know who that woman is. I don't think I align with her." Having like intention and, a standard. Whereas, now people are like, "Here, please wear my clothes," and he was like an indie, cool designer who, he was still showing at Bryant Park. In those days, they showed at Bryant Park, which was like a big deal back in the, early 2000s and in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have definitely like benefited him to like, but he didn't care. He's like, "I don't care." Like, that's so amazing to have that standard. So yeah, it's important that you like who is wearing your dresses and that their intention aligns with your beliefs and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all live in New York. We all got here. You got to New York. Parsons, they're like, we need you. Tisch, we need you. How has living in New York changed your point of view, or has it? Has it enhanced it? Has it changed any way you think about being an artist?
It's just too expensive to live here.
100%. I 100% agree.
Ideally, I would love to move here, have a studio, but maybe in the future, but not right now. It's too expensive in this city.
Yeah.
And navigating through the city too, that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on the country, having a car, and then just going here, come back home, do the work. You have to go through all these hoops.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part for me. But creativity.
It's hard. Living like what you were just saying, getting around, all of that, navigating, I'm on the subway, sometimes with my bags, my kit is, over 50 pounds. You don't want to drive all the time. I take the train. I love public transport, but it takes a lot. Sometimes you're pulling your kit through snow and rain and sleet and snow. And I always say this about when you live in New York, that saying, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, because it is hard. New York is hard living. And so, yes, there's that part of it. But then there's the other part of it, which is that little magical New York, that little spice, that energy. Do you feel that in New York? And does that reflect in your art at all?
I think it made me take more risks in my work for sure, which was, I was afraid to do that before I got here, but realizing that even people in my class, their work is amazing, and I want to do the best that I can as possible. And so, yes, creativity, yes, it does help.
Because you're seeing other kids at Parsons, right? Like doing their thesis and whatever. What is it called? BFA? Are you doing that? What is it called
doing
now?
an MFA, girl.
It's MFA.
MFA.
Honey, I didn't go to college, honey. I'm a hair school. I'm a beauty school dropout. I went to the school of hard knocks. Okay, so BFA,
Hell
MFA.
yeah.
So what? So MFA's masters.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, look at me learning. Teach the girls. So you're seeing all that Parsons energy around you too. You're in this world and seeing like, oh, okay. Which is that is what's so great about New York, is that you do have, millions of people that come here to either be what they couldn't be at home, or to be around people that force them to grow, or that stimulate them, or that inspire them. That is, why I love New York too.
Yeah.
But it's all the other shit sucks. It's too expensive. It's a total scam. Everything's a scam to get money out of you. But yes, the energy is good. Razelle, what do you think? Does it resonate at all?
Yeah, I've always said this, but the thing I love about the city is when you step out the door, the city's going. It doesn't matter what time the city's going. So it's up to you to match that energy and bring it, When I was here doing my program at Tisch, I think at first it was really hard to keep up, but then you keep doing it day after day. And then before you know it, you realize, you're part of the energy that the city is. So you've integrated. And then when you go other places, you realize like, wow, like this is not New York.
Yeah.
And so so many times I've completely acclimated to the city, and the energy does really impact my creativity. And I think I found myself in the last year holed up in my, in our place because I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And I think when we're talking about the finances, the way the world's changing and what's happening in Palestine and Ukraine and all this, all these things, like really, really important world events, and especially in the political climate that we're in now, I've really, retracted back into our apartment because the city's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like find myself right now of, going through a few life changes at the moment. And, Jontay and I are going to be leaving the city, at the end of May, and to be continued.
We're running away together.
We're running away.
Yes.
We're going to be skipping, holding hands.
Honey, take me with you. Oh my gosh. That's, the city, even from when you guys have been here. I moved to New York City on a Greyhound bus in the year 2000. That's the name of my mixtape.
Hey.
And I have seen it change. I've seen even just from the year 2000 to 2001, 9/11.
Oh.
That was a change. That was a New York change. Even just that year, things changed. And then you had Bloomberg and the dancing ban, and then just everything has just changes in New York constantly. But even since you guys have been here, it's gotten to be so much. You cannot be an artist. It's so hard to be an artist in New York, to move to Soho, like back in the days that artists used to do, or to Union Square. Like we were talking about the Warhol era of the factory, and you can't do that anymore. Yeah. And that's what's so sad about that, because now it's just all, rich people that buy these buildings up and then don't even live in them, and gentrification, it's the whole thing. So I feel that. And retreating into your home, it's a safe place. You save money that way.
Yeah.
And you need to get to writing because
we need that comedy.
We need the content, because I'm staying at home these days. I need to watch everything that I can watch, because right now I'm watching trash television. I think also it's a way for me to detach. I love detaching. I can detach from reality. I can detach watching, Love is Blind.
Oh, yeah.
Where am I? What am I doing, you guys?
Millionaire Matchmaker is my jam lately.
Yeah, and like all the matchmaking,
I don't know.
Obsessed. 90 Day Fiancé, love. But is it rotting my brain? Possibly. Is it?
It is.
Maybe, Maybe it's like a psychology, sociology. Maybe something's clicking.
See, I'm different in the sense that you don't make films. I make films.
Yeah.
If I'm watching a normal good movie, I'm working.
Yeah.
My brain is like, oh, I love that. Oh my God, that,
Yes.
I didn't notice that, like my brain. So for me, trash TV, he stumbles in on me. I'm like laying on the couch with a blanket.
Yes.
Because I can't move. And then I'm watching Millionaire Matchmaker.
Yeah.
And it's like so funny because like I'm in development of a feature film right now, and I'm shooting a short adaptation of it next month. And so I'm like, I actually do have work, and which I do need to attend to, but I'm laying on the couch disassociated with the blanket and my dog watching Millionaire Matchmaker.
Yes.
So Jontay finds me in that position a lot.
I think that's like what we do, right?
Yeah.
We take our brain off of like serious, heavy films, and also serious, heavy fucking headlines in the world, because the world right now is insane. So if I'm not watching news, I do just want to watch like fluff, and I don't want to, and then I'll get in my bag. It's like an emotion for me. I'm like, oh, I need to watch something with like integrity. I need to get into my thing, or something sneaks up on me, and then I'm like, oh, I love to cry. I love emotions. So yeah, I feel that. Now, guys, tell me, Jontay,
Yes.
do you have a muse? Do you believe in a muse?
Yes and no, I guess.
Do you have something that inspires you?
I guess I look towards my friends because they really inspire me and they always cheer me on and they always want to help. So I'm gonna put Victoria on blast again.
Victoria, hi. You look so cute at the Smithsonian. You guys are adorable. And I would say she's definitely your muse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
And you said she's been there since day one.
yes. We met at Blanche McDonald actually in Vancouver.
Now, is she in fashion too?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
So she's in costume design and
Oh, amazing.
So I asked her to come out before Indian Market. Those are the most intense weeks.
I'm
are
sure. So is she helping
hallucinating.
you like
Yeah. She's,
assemble things? Oh,
it's hardcore stuff, man. Like being around my mom, having the apartment messy. My friends are coming in, doing last minute things, sewing in the lining, doing last minute beading, putting on feathers, cutting feathers. It's insane.
wow. Oh, I love
But-
that. And you're doing it with your friends.
Yes, that's the most fun part.
Yeah.
Is with my friends, and that's the most exciting part too. Even the fashion show.
Yes.
That's another story, but that is the most fun.
The making it and that energy and love and laughter. I'm sure you guys are kikiing and laughing and
Oh yeah,
cackling.
when we're like 1 hour of sleep a
Yeah.
day, we're hallucinating. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And then we're like, I don't think I'm gonna do this again. Like this is too much. But when the music starts and the first model walks on
Yep.
stage, we're like, we're gonna do this again.
You
Yeah.
awake, you like snap
Yeah.
out of it,
Yeah.
right?
Because it's worth it at the end.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is. And I love that about fashion too, is, you know, doing a show sometimes that lasts only 20 minutes. It took you months, maybe years to create a collection. And you're showing it and then the hair, the makeup, you know, I've created some crazy hair for fashion shows in New York. Steven, you've been there. Where it's been hours of, you know, work creating weird things for weird fashion people. And and then it's done. And all of that that's my favorite. I love temporary things. Like it will live on. It does. You can Google it and all that stuff now. But it's so beautiful in a way where it's just like, okay, it was just 20 minutes. There it is. It's to the world. I gave birth to you and it will live on forever. And now we got to get back to work
Yep.
on the new thing.
Yep.
Right. Razelle, do you have any muses or anything that truly inspires you?
I have a lot of muses.
Ooh.
I have a lot. They're mainly my friends too.
Nice.
I would say like honestly, I see a lot of like native actors, actresses out there where I'm like, man, I want to write a role for you that just is a complete opposite of what you're doing right now
Yes.
in this role.
Razelle, do this.
Yeah.
You're
and
doing
so
it, I'm
so
sure.
like, you know, my friends like, you know, Morningstar Angeline, Devery Jacobs, you know, Amber
Yes.
Midthunder, Lily, like Cara Jade. Like I like sometimes I'll watch them in roles and just be like, oh, like you would shine so hard if and
Yeah.
then I go through and I think of all the different character scenarios that I have a Rolodex of in my brain. And then even like guys like, you know, Tatanka Means and, you know, Michael Gray Eyes, you know, I'm grateful to call, you know, these folks, you know, my friends, my peers, and I just look at them and I'm like, yeah, I really want to do something that's like subverts everything that you've done on your filmography. Yes. And so that's how I tend to look at my inspiration, my muses. They're really like my friends, but also like, you know, hey, if a muse wasn't a singular being or entity, I would say a lot of times my muse would be the experiences I've had with Jontay, Christian, and, you know, the times we've had in the city. And, you know, the last few years have been a a ball and
like these moments
these
that just happen.
moments.
Like the other night
Yeah.
was like a movie, right? On
Yeah,
the floor.
we went to Christian Allaire, our dear friend. He's writer for Vogue, and he wrote a memoir.
Yes.
And he released the book a couple of days ago. It's now out in the world, and had this amazing event, book signing, a little after party get together, and yeah, it was quite the night.
Yes, and the name of the
Yeah.
book, From the Res to the Runway.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna manifest this now, Christian. I need you on the pod. Like, if we can, like, can you guys put in a good word for me?
He just sneezed about 5 times right now, wherever he's at. He's like, somebody's talking about me.
Yeah, Christian Allaire is like, Anna Winter showed up. Like,
Girl, we saw her.
Anna Winter was there.
Yeah.
We were going in. She was walking out.
Mhm.
She smiled at me.
I mean, I'm sure she's
No, she didn't.
No, she did for real. She
No,
did.
I know she did.
And then Jontay, you guys went to the after party, and your clothes were at the after party.
Yep.
And Laura Ortman was
performing
her. I mean, it looked. I had total FOMO. I was with my kid. I had to do some things, which was fine. But those moments are also a very New York night.
Yes.
That's only in New York. That's that kind of thing happen.
Yeah.
And that's why, New York is so special in that way, because that, in LA that could happen too, but that was a New York night. And this is sometimes, why we remind ourselves like, oh, okay, this is why we're here. And we get the inspiration for our art through those.
And like as we're like dressing the models, Gabby and Margaret downstairs before the performance, I was getting yelled at by Kelly Catrone. It was such an honor.
An honor.
I loved it.
We love Kelly.
Yeah.
She was
That was
doing
funny.
PR for a couple of shows that I would do, and
she was
That
like,
was
she was
hurry up, we
so-
need to go upstairs.
Oh,
Yada,
yeah.
yada, yada. But
She's
some people are like,
amazing.
don't
Yeah.
talk to him that way. I'm like, guys, it's okay. It's Kelly.
Kelly.
And I love that you know who Kelly Catrone is, because
Yeah.
Kelly is a New York legend. And I hope she does your show one day. For it, and I hope I do the hair for the show,
Hey.
because it would just be the perfect combination.
That moment really was a very, very New York night. And, I remember when Christian, you and I were talking, I don't know, a couple months back, Christian was like, I really want to have a moment. I don't know how to do it. I really want a moment. He's like, what if Laura performs? What if Jontay, has a couple looks on a couple models, and we just stop the party and just interrupt it? I was like, you want that to happen? I can make it happen. I'll call up Laura right now. And I was like,
Yes.
I'll call up Margaret and Gavi right now, and we'll get them on. But I'm like, do you got looks? He's like, yeah. His little shifty eyes. I'm like, he doesn't have looks, but he'll have looks.
Yes.
We made it happen.
We made it happen. So
Gorge.
yeah, so I knew Christian was really busy, so I sort of like, got the torch, and I was like, don't worry about it, I'll make it happen.
So you produced the after party.
Not the after party, just the moment within the after party.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that was the party, honey. I mean, from what I saw, that was the party.
Yeah.
You guys, what is on the horizon? What's going on? You are showing. Tell me where you're showing next.
Okay, so I'm building my next collection for Indian Market this August, and I don't know how many looks are going to be in it yet, but it's called Beyond Vessels, and it's a whole brand new collection, new work. And then a month later, for New York Fashion Week, I'll be presenting my MFA collection for New York Fashion Week for the school.
Yes, for the Parsons school.
Yes.
The fashion. I used to do
fashion
hair
show.
for the Parsons design students.
Yeah, so I'll be doing
and
2
FIT,
shows.
they have theirs, and Parsons has theirs. Oh my God! So you're going to show the Vessels collection at Santa Fe,
Indian Market, during Santa Fe,
and then New York Fashion Week.
New York Fashion Week. So 2 shows this year. So again, it's very intense. And other than that, just be taking orders finally.
You're taking orders.
Yeah,
People
after,
can buy
like,
after
September.
Oh my gosh.
Not right now. I'm too busy.
Wait, tell me, what are your social media? Where can people find you and can look at these beautiful creations?
You can find me on Instagram under Jontay_Kahm. No nonsense stuff. It's just my work. That's it.
And if someone wants to contact you, is it like a DM situation? Is it an email, or do you
Both.
prefer?
Both.
Okay, work.
Yeah.
Razelle, what's on the horizon?
Oof.
What can you talk about? Because I know you have some stuff cooking.
I can't talk about a lot, but I can say that I have a feature film in development that I did not write, but I'm directing, and that should be in fall. But right now we're doing a short adaptation of the feature, so I'm doing that next month. Yeah, so I'm shooting that I'm not shooting. Have a DP, but I'm directing that.
Oh my God, Razelle.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, so we're moving along very quickly, getting production stuff going, and so I'm excited to, actually make another film.
Yes. And do you have a website? Do you have links to Murder in Bighorn you can watch? It's still streaming.
Yeah, it's still streaming. Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus.
Is there anything else streaming of yours that we can watch?
You can stream Dark Winds season 1. I try, because like a lot of my work so far has been through Tisch and school and really, really super like low, tiny, micro, non-existent budget. I don't have my work readily available. I have a couple short films that have screened internationally at different festivals. But right now, if you really want to watch any of my work, it's Murder in Bighorn or Dark Winds. And then I'm coming out with something big that hopefully in the spring or summer of 2026 will be the final
The big one.
The big one. Yeah.
The big one.
The kickstart.
Oh, I'm so
my
excited.
debut film featured.
Yes, Razelle.
Feature film debut. There we go.
Feature film debut, Razelle, 2026. Be on the lookout. Jontay, you have to get to work. So I'm going to let you all go because I really appreciate you guys taking your time to come and talk to me today. I am so proud of you, and it makes my heart soar seeing you two together. I mean, together, not together, but just, we got the divider here. They're not together. But both of you, I love you guys together. Just in general, I get inspired by you both, and I cannot wait to see what's coming out. There is a final question. What does the perfect day look like for you? What happens when you have like a perfect day? Is there perfect days that exist?
Doing something like a little bit creatively every day, just like my dad.
Yes.
Doing something every day.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to finish anything. Just keep doing it.
Yes.
And if I'm not doing anything creatively in a day, I'm just like, what did I do today? What was the point of today?
Oh, love.
So I get mad at myself like that. So I need to do something creatively every day. Drawing, sewing, something, anything.
Love.
So my perfect day is waking up kind of early. My goal is to wake up with the sun. So my perfect
dish.
I mean, and then the eagle flies by.
Yeah. You get up and pray. That's how we do.
Full corn pop.
Yeah.
Smoke a little tobacco.
Mhm.
No, I'm just kidding.
Lay it
no,
down.
but like, no, actually, like, I want to. I'm not anywhere near there, but I try to wake. I would like to wake. My perfect day is waking up as early as I can. What feels good, smudging, and then taking the dog for a walk. And then
wait, we went this whole episode without talking about
Pejuta.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Pejuta. It's okay. She's
the icon, the legend,
the diva.
She can be your next guest.
She can be your next guest.
I would love that. Actually, we should have been like.
She would have got so bored.
Oh yeah,
she would just been like,
"Get me out of here."
Can we go for a walk?
Razelle has the cutest Shiba Inu
Mm-hmm.
ever with such a personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of personality.
Such personality.
But you think it could be your muse, no?
She's, you know, she's definitely. I don't mean to. I impose a lot of character on her.
I was.
She
just
has a lot of character.
A character. Her as
Actually,
a human.
I do have a Pixar movie that's
Yes.
the idea in my head
That's
that's
right.
based on
right.
on
Of
her.
course you do.
Yeah.
Hello?
It's based on her. So she's definitely an inspiration for that. But yeah, so like my perfect day is, you know, waking up as early as I can, smudging, dog for a walk, our breakfast, coffee.
Good breakfast.
And
Good
then-
big breakfast.
Yeah.
Big breakfast.
A good breakfast, and then working on stuff. Actually try and work on stuff. And then after I've done a lot of things, you know, maybe friends want to go out to dinner in the city. You know, we have our creative, intellectual downtime with each other that we bounce ideas off each other. We talk about things. And so I love this social interaction, and I love, you know, my walks throughout the day with the dog and yeah, and then capping it out with, you know, a movie, and then, you know,
Yeah.
bed,
Love it.
dog. Yeah.
You guys both beautiful, perfect days. Oh, that's so amazing. All right, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for this time that you took out of your day. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you would like to share right now here in this moment?
Jontay's single.
Hey,
I'm
just kidding.
Jontay.
I'm in school. I don't have time for that.
You don't have time. Well, you know, have time for a little
Hey.
hit and quit it. Hit it and quit it.
My
He's-
private life is private.
He's
Waiting for Santa Fe,
blushing.
honey. Seriously, you guys, thank you so much for coming by the studio. I really appreciate it. Check these guys out, and we'll see you soon, cousins. Bye. Let's Have a Powwow is created and hosted by me, Amy Farid. Production on this episode by Stephen Franco. Logo design by Daniela Ritku. And the title and outro song by Jason Guitano. And I received my first text message through Apple Podcasts. There's a link if you don't know. And ooh, y'all are messy. And we're about to get into that next episode. Thank you as always.